And what happened with Robert Bradley was unacceptable. I support the settlement.
With that, the Spokan City Council signed off on a $500,000 settlement to the fiancé of a man killed by police, even though that shooting was found to be justified. More on the decision, new tonight.
We promised Idahoans historic tax relief and delivered back-to-back tax cuts.
That's Idaho Governor Brad Little during a State of the State address today, his plans for the Gem State, and how he plans to specifically help North Idaho.
Our inversion is back, and that means more fog and low clouds in the days to come.
KREM 2 News 10 at 10 begins now with Mark Hanrahan and Jeremy Legoo.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started tonight. New tonight, the Spokan City Council agreed to pay $500,000 to settle to the fiancé of a man shot and killed by police. That deadly shooting happened more than 2 years ago, and the deadly use of force was found to be justified. Tonight, KREM 2's Connor McAvoy has more on the shooting and why council decided to settle. Connor.
Tonight, City Council approved a $500,000 settlement to the fiancé of a Spokane man who Spokane police shot multiple times. Council didn't discuss the decision, but took public comment on the matter. This is the moment Spokane police shot and killed Robert Bradley on September 4th, 2022. This body cam video from the police department shows officers approaching the van Bradley was in. They able to see his hands, and a few seconds later, officers fired, hitting and killing Bradley. Police said they shot Bradley because they thought he was reaching for his weapon, and police say Bradley never fired any shots. KREM 2 spoke with his fiancée, Sarah McLaughlin, shortly after his death. She says they were unloading their car after camping, and Bradley was bringing his guns inside from his van.
He wasn't just wandering around with a gun in his hand. He was just loading stuff in and out like you do after your camping trip, you know?
The Spokane County Sheriff's Office led an independent investigation following this shooting. Then the county prosecutor concluded the shooting was justified, meaning the officers who fired their guns would not face any criminal charges. McLaughlin filed a wrongful death lawsuit in August last year, arguing her fiancé's death was not justified. After a mediation in December, McLaughlin agreed to dismiss her claims for the amount of $500,000. In tonight's City Council meeting, Will Hewlings spoke against the settlement. He believes the investigation shows the police shooting was justified.
That the officers acted in self-defense, and I applaud them for their quick and decisive actions in what was clearly a life-threatening situation.
Jim Leedy spoke in support of the lawsuit. He believes the circumstances leading to Bradley's death weren't justified and are worth more than the amount voted on.
What happened with Robert Bradley was unacceptable. I support the settlement. In fact, it should be doubled.
Council voted 5-2 approving the $500,000 settlement. There is still another lawsuit filed against the city of Spokane relating to Robert Bradley's death. The wrongful death lawsuit was filed in March of last year on behalf of Bradley's 2 children and his estate. Their attorney shared a statement on the family's behalf. It says, in part, "We believe police were negligent and reckless in shooting Mr. Bradley. Mr. Bradley's 2 young boys lived with their father and were close to him. The children are sad that the city has chosen to settle with the fiancé of Robert Bradley while refusing to acknowledge the children's damages and pain in a fair and reasonable manner. The settlement proves that the city recognizes the Spokane police did something wrong in this case." The family's attorney goes on to say the federal trial for the lawsuit is set for November 12th, and they're seeking $50 million in damages if the case goes to trial. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
All right, Connor, thank you very much. Tonight, the Nez Perce County Sheriff's Office is investigating a deadly crash that happened this morning on Old Spiral Highway. They say an SUV left the road and landed in a ravine. 3 people were inside that vehicle. 1 died, 2 were hospitalized. Investigators say they're unsure who was driving at the time, but if you know anything, you are urged to call that number right there at the bottom of your screen. All right, taking a live look at downtown Spokane tonight. Another chilly evening across the region as we are already down into the 20s tonight. Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo standing by in the Weather Center. Jeremy, nice to have a few things dry out a bit overnight, but we just can't seem to shake all this fog, all this cloud cover.
I know, it's that same weather pattern that keeps plaguing us over and over and over. Here we sit pretty close to freezing, 33 degrees in Spokane, and with 33 degrees, our visibility is starting to drop. Already starting to see reduced visibility out in Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls, up in the Okanagan Valley as well. You will likely start to see that patchy fog grow a little more widespread overnight than where we sat, say, yesterday or early this morning. 30 degrees in Sandpoint, 30 in Coeur d'Alene right now. Our temperatures in Deer Park and Spokane are hovering pretty close to freezing, down near 30 in Pullman and Moscow. It's a little bit cooler, but with no big disturbance overhead. Main factor tomorrow morning going to be that fog. As we move from tomorrow into Wednesday, we will likely see a little bit of a disturbance move through. That's early Wednesday morning before the sun comes up, and that gives us a chance of a little bit of freezing drizzle and a couple of flurries. Other than that, it's all about the fogs and clouds in the days to come, with a high in the low 30s and a low near 30 degrees.
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show. Now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. Tonight, the Spokane County Sheriff's Office continues to investigate a deadly shooting that left one person dead. Deputies responded to that shooting at around 12:18 this afternoon, where they then found a man dead at the scene. Ultimately, 2 men were detained, but officials only suspect that they may be connected. There is no word on charges yet. We will continue to follow this story as we learn more information. Meantime, tonight, Spokane police also investigating a deadly shooting that left one person dead in the Logan neighborhood. It happened at the Nom Nom on Perry in Illinois last night. Police say the person that shot then ran from the scene, but was later found and hospitalized. Officers say the shooter stayed at the scene as well and is cooperating with police. Major Crimes is investigating, and police say there is no danger to the community. A popular Spokane restaurant closing for a few days to make repairs after flooding related to a fire. O'Doherty's made the announcement on Facebook last night, saying they'll be closing today through Wednesday for renovations. Last month, the fire broke out in an apartment above the restaurant, and water caused damage to the apartments and to several businesses, including O'Doherty's, Boo Radley's, and Petunia and Loomis. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head to our website. That's KREM.com. Idaho Governor Brad Little is making big promises as part of his annual State of the State address. KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy breaks down some of his proposals for the new year.
Governor Little is recommending lawmakers support several investments in education, infrastructure, and public safety. As Idaho Governor Brad Little enters his 6th year in office, he's making big promises, what he calls his Keeping Promises plan.
There is no doubt Idaho's on a roll.
One of Little's major priorities in the new year, what he calls a continued trend of tax relief.
We promised Idahoans historic tax relief and delivered back to back tax cuts.
He's proposing $100 million in additional tax cuts. Education is another key priority. Little says the public charter school system offers families more options, transparency, and accountability. He's recommending a $50 million revenue adjustment for more education options.
I recognize the growing desire to expand school choice, especially for students with unique physical or developmental conditions.
Little says this system will not take money from public schools, which he says is his first funding priority. He's promised $150 million for public schools. But Idaho's Education Association expressed disappointment at the private school voucher plan. A statement from President Lane McAnally says, in part, rather than siphoning public tax dollars for-profit, private, or religious schools, we should invest in the future of our children by finally ending the state's chronic underfunding of education. Little says since he took office, Idaho's crime rate has gone down 17%.
My Keeping Promises plan includes the addition of a new prosecutor in North Idaho who will solely focus on putting away drug traffickers.
$85,000 will fund the new Special Assistant U.S. Attorney in Coeur d'Alene, focused on the drug trade along I-90 and Highway 95. You can watch the governor's full address right now on KREM 2+. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
And just a reminder, we are the spot to watch Kraken games all season long. Catch Thursday's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on KSKN 22 at 3:30 p.m. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed yet. Still ahead tonight, remembering an Idaho paramedic whose life was tragically cut short over the weekend. Coming up in 90 seconds, we'll hear from his family.